Good morning. Wow, hey! It's actually there. It's been a while. I've been doing this every day, but I haven't been recording it because I've run out of memory on my camera. And I keep forgetting to, I'll probably get dark for a little bit. I keep forgetting to download the stuff that I've already got, or delete it and free up some space. But I did that this morning, so I'll record my meditation. And what a difference it makes to record it. I really do fly through it when I'm not, and I take my time and do a better job here. Now let's see if I can do this with without missing anything. And I'm going to begin with a bit about the human rights thing, because that's what I'm always neglecting that part. So let's get started. The title of this is the Good Life Meditation for this day, which is September 21st, 2016. The Good Life Meditation, hey bunny, those are two rabbits. The Good Life Meditation is Irvine is just full of rabbits on these little manicured, gentle streets that we've got here. This very gentrified, very civilized area. Gosh, could Irvine be like any more civilized? It's just so civilized, so civil. Anyway, the Good Life Meditation is just an affirmation that I do on a daily basis in the morning to set my mind into the work-a-day mode, the live-a-day mode, and to prepare myself for the challenges ahead by outlining my objectives and principles. And this helps even though I don't recall them outright during the course of the day. It really does help to keep me in alignment. It's amazing how much better I am able to abide my principles if I simply remind myself of them every day. That makes sense. So anyway, the preamble part I mentioned I was going to do about the human rights. The one part of this there's probably lots of parts that I'm going to develop over the years, I imagine, but one that's glaringly obvious to me right now is the need to set up a situation between well-being and individual rights. Well-being on the one hand being the improvement in well-being for humans in all their life in general, so that things just simply get better. That is the base measure of virtue, is improvement in well-being. And well-being is something you can objectively identify, but what you have to be careful about is that we don't trample on the rights of individuals in the pursuit of that well-being. The example that I commonly refer to is the idea of harvesting the organs of one individual to give those organs to needy individuals, and thus sacrificing one life to save a dozen. That's a situation that makes sense in terms of it furthers the well-being of the general group, but at what cost to the rights and well-being of an individual. And you have to have some apparatus in place to balance that. And I'm not completely, this is something I haven't worked through very far, so I lean on my country's Bill of Rights at this point to be the foundation for that, namely the parts of the Bill of Rights that protect the individuals from the masses, including religious, the religious parts, the freedom of speech, things like that, and anything that looks after the well-being of the individual. So I think that's enough of that. 4 minutes in, I haven't even started. I guess I'll have to go faster than I like to with it. So here we go. There are 3 objectives and 7 principles. The 3 objectives are, first, the development and maintenance of good sound principles. These are the foundation of a well-lived life, a foundation of the good life. Second is and you can develop those yourself or borrow from others, but what I simply recommend is that in either case you vet them yourself to make sure that they are sound and make sense, and continually vet them through time. See what kind of predictions they make, and if those predictions are accurate. Good principles will allow you to interact with the world successfully. Successful being defined as with the most harmony and the least amount of friction. lots of virtue flowing from a life lived according to good principles. The second objective is the performance of good, or the execution of good emotional reactions to the circumstances of life. So I had several chances to do that yesterday. A couple of times things came up, and it really is amazing how just the act of doing this, of saying it out loud in the morning, really sets up in my mind kind of like a watch. It's a vigil for opportunities to do that. I see these opportunities. It used to be that I would catch them, even just a month or two back, I would catch them as they're happening. I say, oh, this is an opportunity to exercise good emotional response. So that means that in spite of how I'm feeling on the inside, the turmoil, the frustration, the anger that's rising up, I'm going to behave better on the outside. And it takes a great force of will to do that sometimes. To be the man that I want to be, that I believe is the better man that I can be, despite the man inside me that's screaming to get out. And even yesterday, for example, there were a couple of times where, and it doesn't happen a lot. It's not like this happens a couple of times a day. It was just yesterday. There were twice. Sometimes I'll go days without this challenge coming up at all. But yesterday, twice, and I saw it before it even got there. I realized, hey, this is one of those opportunities. And then there was another one. There were actually 3 instances yesterday. There was another one that came up where, fortunately, the circumstance passed, because I may have given in, but it passed. But I made a conscious choice to not engage it, so that was good. So what I'm trying to say is that the ability to, the second objective is the ability to live as the man or woman that you know you should be, that you want to be, despite what's actually coming up on the inside, which may not be your better self. We'll live a better life that way, a more mature life, a more measured and principled life. Third is simply the third objective is simply the performance of good actions. You're doing good things. Pick up a bit of litter along the side of the road. Hold the door open for somebody. Donate to a cause. Whatever the case may be. 7 principles. We're already 7 minutes. 7 minutes and 36 seconds, so I better go fast. The first principle is the atomic principle. Everything in the universe is atoms, bits and pieces, flowing and changing, always becoming something else. There are 2 lessons to take from that. One is, not lessons, but observations, really. The first is the observation of flux and change, to expect it. And building upon that, the recognition that what we've got is temporary and impermanent, and including ourselves. To not hold on to these things very, very tightly, but to look instead to virtuous acts as our real treasure. 2, the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has a particular nature, including us. And it's a good thing when we can recognize the nature of other things, so that we can understand and expect what kind of behavior and action and what will come of them. And it's also good to recognize our own nature, so that we can live in accordance with that. Maybe adjust our lives, the course of our lives, make our decisions that are better keeping with that. Now, it's tricky sometimes to figure out just what that nature is, right? It's always this tricky light. But when you find it, run with it. And recognizing, of course, that it changes. The next is the social principle. The idea that we're social animals, the observation that we're social animals, that we need one another, and that the most virtue-filled activities and choices are those that further the social end. It's good to do things for the greater good, as long as, of course, we're minding the rights of the individuals. 4, the principle of temperance, moderation in all things. Eat, drink, work, play, sleep, sex, whatever is going on in our lives that we can let run away. We can run away with it. It's a virtue to be able to exercise restraint. It's that same restraint. Hey, looks like a ninja. It's that same restraint that allows us to exercise good emotional reactions. It's that same restraint. So it's like a virtue to exercise it with other things so that you can have it when you need it to exercise emotional control. So there you go. I'm over 10 minutes, so I better wrap it up. I'm going to run out of memory soon. The principle of temperance. 5 is the principle of the great indifference, that the universe is devoid of any apparent sentience or governing faculty, God, if you want to use that word, other than or even any intelligence outside of our planet and our species, and maybe a few other species here, in terms of the type of intelligence that I'm referring to, that can contemplate the world and guide its own. Well, a lot of animals can guide their own destiny, but develop principles and objectives, so to speak. So basically, that saying is that don't look for invisible forces to guide or govern your life. Instead, work hard with your fellows to develop good apparatuses of philosophy and society to do the same. And then 6, the principle of reason, which is the governing faculty. Back to that word again. It is how we know what is true about the world, and how we can come up with formula and observations that make sense of the world and allow us to make predictions about what might be coming. And when those predictions bear fruit and are true, then we know we may be onto something. And when they are false, we have to reevaluate what we're thinking is true. Reason is what has given us the modern world, and it is also a force that amplifies our mind and capabilities, and so one we have to watch out for as well. But we haven't run across anything quite like it. Reason coupled with the scientific method. And finally, 7, virtue, which is the purpose of life. Some people wonder, does an atheist have a purpose in life? If they're without God, how can you have a purpose of life? Well, a purpose for a person like me is formed of looking for ways to improve the social good in objective, measurable ways, and exercising my restraint in my choices so that I make choices that are in accordance with the nature of myself and others, and which make the world a better place. Virtue falls like rain in the path of the man or the woman that walks along this path, the path of the good life. Living a life recognizing the transient nature of everything, looking for and abiding the nature of ourselves and others, seeking after social good, exercising restraint, recognizing that we just have one another, and using reason as the arbiter of truth. That's it. That's the Good Life meditation for this day. I made it. And I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.